I'm heading into Midtown to shoot an event that requires stills, and it's a client I've been working with for a long time and I'm really comfortable with the space. So I'm going to take this opportunity to test some new hybrid features. I rented the Sony A74, which is kind of a scaled down version of the A7R5, which is kind of a scaled down version of the Alpha 1. I'm just going to assume the Alpha 2 will have all these new features, the still to video switch, the screen that is more like the R5. I'm going to lay in the groundwork for a kit upgrade, and I'm probably going to choose the Alpha 1 over the R5 because of its 8K 30 internal 422, and that'll better back up an Alpha 2 purchase because I'm sure it's going to be 8K 60 422 internal. What would be way faster and more efficient though is if we can incorporate that still to video switch in a menu somewhere so I could put into a hotkey. When I dumped Nikon in 2016 and switched over to Sony, my focus was video. But in the past 3 years, it's become more of a mix, in that client requests video for stills project, but more often than not, it's them requesting stills from the video project. Either way, now I'm doing both most of the time. So here's my kit. Monopod for low light if things get really crazy. I have a wide angle. My 24-70 is being repaired, which takes forever. I have an everything lens, and I have a 70-200. The flash is a custom filter for 41K that I made on my printer, and the backup is my old reliable A7R2. These big old buildings in Midtown are fairly new inside, but they have a lot of mixed light sources. I'm lucky that in this case it was pretty consistent, around 37K. So that's the first thing I'm going to do is get an in-camera custom white balance, first on the R2 and then on the R4, where I'm going to further refine it and test it out on earlier rivals to make sure I have the best settings for still, and video where I'm going to shoot Slog 3. And this is low light. It's going to exceed the second native ISO of the R4 at 3200. It's going to be more like 12,800, which is A7S3 territory. So I tested all that stuff the night before. Also setting up my function menu, my hotkeys, and aside from some overheating issues because I was shooting 4K 60, not bad. Even better if you downsample it to an output of HD, which I know their in-house always uses, then noise is not much of an issue. So the dynamic range is impressive, even with still. And that's logical as it's less megabytes than the R5, R4. And I kept the video at 422 HD 60, that way it saves me time and space. If they want to use it for B-roll, they can slow it down and get more out of it. Corporations generally don't spend money on space for their in-house, so that will be easier for them as well. But what I was really impressed with here, whether it's video or still, is the in-body stabilization. I'm hand-holding this with a 70-200 f4 at about 150 millimeters. And yes, hand-holding a zoom lens that long, there's going to be some jerking associated with the active in-body stabilization. The kind where if you stabilize it with Final Cut's generic tools in program, it's going to turn to jello. But if this was a request, I would definitely be doing those zoom shots on a monopod, in which case it would be no problem whatsoever. So the switch makes a lot of sense. Please let us turn it into a hotkey. I've been doing that the past 2 years. Here's an example with the Alpha 1. You just have to keep the settings the same, or you have to make sure you adjust in the menu that those settings can be different, and determine what you want to be different. And in the Sonys, you can be in still and then just press the video record button. Only that limits you to recording video in standard mode and not Slog 3. So a fast ergonomic issue to keep those things separate is the obvious step moving forward. But in order to upgrade and make those changes, I'm really going to need to change my post-production capacity too. And that means waiting for an iMac with the M2 or, rumors have it, the M3 to handle this level of data and burst rate. Specifically in the 8K 30 or 8K 60 broadcast quality mode, which will allow me the freedom on a 4K timeline to expand, maintaining resolution. So I'm ready to make a move. I'm just waiting on some physical changes in an upcoming generation and, of course, the economy to give me a reason to do so.